We'll take our second and last poetry break, inshallah, and I'd like to invite Brother Jamal Nurullah to enjoy with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Muhammad.
Brother Jamal is joining us from Ottawa. Brother Yasser is joining us from Toronto. So another salawat for each one of them.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله
Can
وبركاته.
we have a loud and energetic salawat to the Prophet and his family?
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So yes, I am spoken words from Ottawa, and I'm visiting here in Montreal. Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful event. I've been preparing for it. I have some poetry to share with everybody, and I hope you enjoy it and you are inspired to show. So I was told that the topic of the day or the evening is about the Ansar of Hussainy. And it's not an easy topic to cover, to put into poetry. I almost ended up writing like a 10-minute poem about it because, or it could have been longer because the amount of effort and the amount of courage and the amount of struggle that the Ansar put into propagating Islam before and after the event of Karbala, it can't be summed up in a 3-minute poem. So I have more than one poem to share with you. The first of which is called It's Time. And this, I like to perform this poem a lot because it's a reminder that every day is a new day to make the change, inshallah, to further yourself, progress yourself. And as many of us here, we all have aims to progress our ideals, namely Islam. There's no time like the present to do so. My father came to me one day and he said, Jamal, my community is the Caribbean Muslim community. We're very small in Ottawa. How do we start to realize we need to start making positive change within our community in order to progress? He said, you've written many poems, but you didn't write a poem about that. Write a poem about that, so I wrote a poem called It's Time. It was like this. It's time to let go of the feeble ego and allow our souls to soar like the regal eagle and encourage each other to roar like Black Panthers. Black Panthers who have the courage to penetrate the depths of their people's cancer and extract practical, sustainable answers. It's time. It's time to say yes to the best in us, invest in us, because no one else is protecting us. It's time. It's time the tribal war ceases and we learn to forge friendships that are based on skills and not Reese's Pieces, because we all carry the same ethnic background and share the gift of brown. It's the light from within that generates the melanin in our skin. It's time. It's time to pick up the pieces and iron out the creases. Because no longer will our voices be muffled, our ideas be crumpled. We need to walk the straight path, Jesus. We need to dress ourselves in the truth like we dress ourselves in our clothing, so when we speak it, we unleash it. Provide food for thought for those who forgot how to eat. It's time. It's time to stand up because truth say time's up. Time and time again we have proven that time is not our near and dear friend. It's time we greet each other with the way the prophet greeted his believers, with peace, not with It's time. It's time to build what we envision. What our hearts long for, we need to work hard for like the mission. It's time to turn off the television and unplug the alarm, because we should not hesitate to participate in a nationless mind. It's time. It's time to stop pretending. It's time to start befriending. It's time to start lending a helping hand to your fellow man, neighbor, brother, sister. Because if you don't have the right to want to be called Mr., Minister, Leader, Ambassador, Sir, our work relies on things that the works that we have shown neither. It's time to stop producing and time to stop consuming the things that we don't really need. It's time to stop abusing. It's time to start connecting the dots, because it's affecting the lives of children next in the line. So I'm requesting, it's time that we forgive our fathers. And we strive to recognize the good in man, lest we forget that some of the good in us young men comes from our fathers. It's time we are gentle and helpful to our mothers. And we stretch out our hand as much as we can without her having to request or demand, because a woman should never have to beg for the help from any man. time we put our mouth where our money is, so that we don't confuse the truth with our opinions, because I have learned that we take pride in every dime that we earn, so I say, lay your mouth where your money is, but speak with caution, and don't waste your words on lies and hearsay, because one day it may cost you. It's time to stop playing Monopoly with our devotions, taking major risks with our divine relationships. It's time to start playing more checkers and less chess, because we need to keep ourselves in check when we crown ourselves kings and queens and want to puff up our chests. It's time to stop dreaming. And time to start believing that we as a people are capable of achieving amazing things. So, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brethren, children and veterans, immigrants and citizens, we must make haste, because if there is one thing more deceiving than time, it is time itself. Once your time is gone, there is no replacing. So to the youth, I urge you to use time wisely while in your prime, because ultimately we all die, and so the interest rate is high, and it's the most high, revealed in the book that was once light, by the token of time. Mankind is at a loss, except those that join together and encourage one another to kindness and encourage one another to perseverance. It's time. Thank you. So that's its time, and that I like to start with that poem. It's a really, I think it's a really poem. I'd like to tell you a little bit about spoken word poetry and how to respond to it. I think spoken word poetry has been around for a while, but if you're new to it and you've never really experienced the spoken word poetry, you give back to the poets the energy, the same amount of energy that the poet is giving to the audience. So if you hear a line, if you hear a rhyme that really sounds good to you and you're feeling it, you can snap your fingers. Is that okay? Can we snap fingers? Right? You can snap fingers, and that gives me back energy to make you know that you're feeling the words and you're connecting with the poem. Doing poetry and just speaking words is kind of hard sometimes. It's like giving a lecture, but you're trying to engage people artistically for a short amount of time without them falling asleep or going on their phones and checking their Facebook status. So you can always give me some feedback and let me know how I'm doing with the poetry. The next poem I'd like to perform, it's one of my favorite poems. I don't do it a lot. I once thought about this gentleman who, you know, some of you might know, Stephen Hawking, and very intelligent human being. Obviously, he has opened many people's eyes in the realm of science, you know, and space science, and all sorts of other metaphysical things that I may not know about. But I read some of his work, and I thought about what that means for the future of people who believe in a deity, right? Because of his teachings and his readings and his research. And I decided to write a rebuttal to Stephen Hawking. Now, I am not a genius. My IQ, I don't know, it's probably not even close to his, but I do see some loopholes in his theories. So I decided to write a letter to Stephen Hawking, because I remember reading a few nights ago that someone said that Imam Hussaine's message, like the number one message in his sacrifice was La ilaha illallah, you know, the proclamation of that, and nobody, you know, there hasn't been many figures in a very long time who proclaimed that through that struggle, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. And so I decided to write this poem to Stephen Hawking, and it's just called A Letter to Stephen Hawking. So. On one hand, scientists say that the universe is in perfect unison, is perfect, has function, has purpose. But then they say, on the other hand, that the grand chain reaction, the Big Bang that has produced the most immaculate systems of the coexistence of animals, plants, and man simply began by chance. I fail to see the logic in this. That's like finding the most perfect cake sitting warm in the oven, waiting to be eaten, yours for the taking, and then saying that it must have baked its way into perfect succulent existence. Mixed all the ingredients in the kitchen, pushed all the right buttons, stuck itself into the oven without a mitten or a glove, and by some miraculous stroke of luck, finished baking it the exact, precise description. You see, the reason behind man's gap in thinking is that they believe that there is nothing more powerful than the mind of humankind. So whenever they find something that is not created by their hands, they say, it's by chance. But when they produce an epic poem in rhyme or a device that can calculate time, they say, this is truly intelligent design. But I ask you, Mr. Stephen Hawking, the genius physicist who seems to do the most talking, if all things in this universe are in unison, are perfect, endless, an expanding mass of harmony and motion, all orchestrated by laws of thermodynamics, gravity, and energy, then tell me, what is the hidden element you are missing in your theory of relativity? Unfortunately, you as well as scientists know that you will never be able to disprove that there is no deity, which in some ways makes your piety and non-belief a form of hypocrisy. You are a liar and a fraud. To me, you are all just the same seeds in a pod trying to understand by taking a conclusive stance that there is no God, but there does exist chance. Yet, when your theories leave you speechless, I never hear you say there is a chance that there may be a God. So I ask you, O great leaders of the new free-thinking science society, those involved in physics and astronomy so heavily that they've begun their own sect of Scientology, are you really any different from me? You say the idea of a Godhead is contradictory, but so are your theories. Through your microscopes, you have seen that the universe is perfect down to the most infinitesimal degree, but to gain empirical evidence, you looked again, but then agreed that this beautiful perfection was all made in vain? But a man like me, with hopes and dreams, thoughts and feelings, cannot accept that I am nothing but an accident. I render myself to have more purpose in the cosmos, and that my reason for being transcends beyond what even I know. So, I will continue to believe in the God of the gaps, the unseen, the abstract, until your mind adapts to the fact that we are not just rabbits pulled out of a magical hat, because your mind is too small to see the big picture. That you too are a slave, because you are not brave enough to venture outside of your limited physical mind that binds you to your scientific laws of parameters and borders, that there exists an immovable force that most beings adore for being the original source of all this beauty, grandeur, and splendor. So, I salute you, and every single slave with the universal greeting of peace, hoping that one day, even if it is perhaps in your old age, you will surrender to at least the slightest notion that there is a higher power before it is too late, and you've all been taken to your final destinations, lowered to your ultimate resting place in your graves. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take that, guys. I love doing it. Okay. So can I share two more with you? Is that okay? Yes. One more. Sure. Okay, one more. Let's get to the meat and potatoes then. The one that I wrote specifically for this event. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm a little nervous, so I really need your energy. That was good, by the way. Felt like I was at a spoken word poetry event. Untitled. Let's just call it Ansar Day. How do we walk away from that which we love in hopes that the path to a greater love will love us back? How? How is it that a slave can find his sustenance, his freedom, not in his master's home, but in the throne of the masters by achieving martyrdom? How? How is it that the true fruits of life stem from the greatest sacrifice? And the greatest of all sacrifices are the sweetest when the sacrifice was for that which holds the title as the greatest. How? How is it that a man, woman, child can march right into the hands of the enemy with no fear of tyranny or soon-to-be unruly dynasty, no regrets of life wasted, no doubts of abandoned relationships, just a feeling of hatred? Because if we are to hate what God hates and love what God loves, then we must be confident in our hate in dictatorships and love in divine leadership. Tell me, how do we find out if we are those amongst the righteous or those amongst the wicked? The answer, my sisters and brethren, will come to you as you sit here now in these forthcoming nights. The majlises, they sit there and bow their heads and grip tissues tight, because we know that when you go above and beyond the call of justice towards protecting the righteous, you reach a level like that of which only few friendships achieve. And we feel nostalgic, because we experience feelings of joy mixed with the hardship of pain. On these nights, tears streak the cheeks of the Ahlul Bayt like rain, and we cry the same. As if we could have been there to stop the train, the army of the insane. As they push closer and closer, the images in our mind become clear as day. And for those unaware, there was already something stirring in the air. There was already foul play by those who took religion as a game, but no referee to stop the charade, the deadly game that was hatched way before the demand for Imam Hussein's head was made. From the illegal usurpation at Saqifa, it was no wonder that the Ummah could not be stopped from sinking down under, and the Khalifa passed from Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman to Muawiyah, then to the evil Yazid, whose only goal was to plant the seed into the people's heart that the direct descendant of the Prophet was not meant to be the leader. But neither of these so-called ambassadors of Islam could ever see the light that shone around the Imam's circle of trusted ministers. His most trusted lovers, those who could hold the banner of Islam when the Imam was moving undercover, who held the titles of allegiance for the Imam and each other. This band of tightly woven comrades were a sight to behold because they ranged from the very young to the extremely old. At no point in history was this form of bravery ever personified. Their names will be engraved in our minds, forever solidified. So I take this time to remind you of their characters. And though I may leave many out, I guarantee you all have reached the highest level of sacrifice, which is becoming a martyr. So join me as I give you part 2 of this epic eulogy, and clap your hands against your chest while I spit this fire with fluency. Now rock the bells. Somebody once told me about Muslim ibn Hakil. He was one of the most brave and courageous, communicating with Hussein through letters on papers. He traveled from Mecca to Kufa to tell the people the ruler no longer had to be Kafir. The people were relieved, so they pledged their allegiance and showed support and told Muslim they can't wait to see him. So Muslims sent a letter, said, Imam, you must come, cause the people want to hear your words roll from your tongue. But the revolt made Yazid high strong. He set out to capture the Shias. Yes, had many on the run. Finally, from the pressure, Muslim had to succumb. His head was severed from ropes, his feet were hung. Now sound off, ring alarms, 2 levels of alphabet, different path, same song. Habib and Muslim Ibn Asal just stayed strong. Received many letters from Imam to hold on and spread the word, the arrival. It won't be long, but Ubaydullah had spies everywhere like James Bond. But these Ansars had heart bigger than King Kong, so they planned their escape and nothing went wrong. They traveled straight towards Imam in the land of Karbala. They say every land is Karbala, every day is Ashura. Say every land is Karbala, every day is Ashura. Every land is Karbala, every day is Ashura. Every land is Karbala. One time, every day is Ashura. Every land is Karbala, every day is Ashura. And for one of the Ansars, this couldn't be truer. Her Ibn Yazid was one of my favorites. His story of valor and honor could never be tasteless. He was dispatched to catch Imam, the great Hussein, but upon interception, his aim couldn't be changed. Not to mention, his army was treated with charity. Then he sent back a message begging reconciliation and clarity, but it was destiny. Or became a lover of Hussein and not an enemy. Became the first martyr on the 10th. His memory lives on. He is called the free man. Don't forget about Suhair, indestructible like air, taking down the hypocrites. His fighting style was so rare. The Imam made him the leader of the right wing. He protected the religion with his mighty right swing, moving quicker than lightning. They challenged him in pairs. It was the only way to take down a man with such flair. First they stripped him of his weapons and left his hands bare. Then they struck him to the ground with a cold blank stare. And the beat goes on. If you're feeling the prophet in this hour, then sing along. Yes, the beat goes on. If you're feeling the prophet in this fan, then sing along. Cause I can't forget Imam Hussein's fan. The ones who suffered, dying of thirst under scorched land. They were the noble and the closest of this great Imam. His only hope was to pray to the Lord they can understand. Cause most of his progeny were young and didn't have command of how to hold a weapon and how to survive the open sand. So I mentioned them together with a loud salawat. I pray to Allah that He grants them the highest barakat. Cause these lovers of Hussein save Islam near and far. We remember Karbala through the help of the Ansar. Salawat. Wow.
much, Montreal. Thank you very much for the